everybody. I'm Dr. Maggie Yu, functional and holistic medicine physician and owner of Transform. Today, we have with us Jennifer, and Jennifer is a wonderful example, and I'm going to let her introduce herself, but we're talking about, she's been dealing with RA and Hashimoto's, two really common autoimmune diagnoses. And this story is going to really highlight how important it is to become the pilot and no longer the passenger in your own autoimmune journey, even if your doctors are clueless and have no training in functional medicine. Mm-hmm. So I'd love right now for all of you, if you haven't joined our Facebook group, please click to join Transform Autoimmune Disease Naturally to join our group, where we have tons of videos and trainings all about autoimmunity and how to turn it around naturally. I'm a functional medicine physician, as I've said, and I love educating people about autoimmune disease. And without further ado, Jennifer, I'd love for you to introduce yourself. Tell us your diagnoses and what some of the symptoms you've been dealing with are.
Sure. I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's about 16 years ago when I first became pregnant with my son. And around 12 years ago, I was diagnosed with RA after pretty much the birth of my daughter, my second child. So for a long time now, I have been suffering from many different ailments, whether it's joint pain, fatigue, muscle weakness. And I've just been going from doctor to doctor, looking for help on many different medicines. Some worked for a little bit of length of time and then moved on to something else. And, more symptoms come as the years go. And I just feel like I'm constantly waiting for what's next until now.
Okay. That's a lot of meat to unpack in there, but I do want to point out just right there, you already talked about some patterns that are gold that regular doctors just totally miss and regular patients miss, right? There's a big hormonal component to the onset of your rheumatoid arthritis. I mean, looking at the postpartum, after the birth of each child, it really triggered an onslaught of symptoms. And it's no wonder that when your second child was born, that's when you were diagnosed with RA. In a lot of ways, you recognize, and I teach this in tons of videos in our group, that that change in hormones, the shift in hormones, like postpartum, during certain times of the month or around menopause, is the biggest trigger of autoimmune disease. And you're a living, walking example of that.
Yes. Okay. And I had no clue really until now. Like when I started the program, I was thinking all about RA, and thinking about that. And I cannot believe the hormone piece in all of this. Like, it just wowed me, and it makes so much sense. It really does.
Well, let's talk about, okay, give me the list of symptoms that you came into this program. I mean, by the way, you're not even done with our program. I mean, we're a two-week program to launch people into a year of autoimmune turnaround. You're only in week 7, girlfriend. So, but you had such a major win with collaborating with your physician and your results that we decided to just do this quick interview early just to show people how right in the snap dab in the middle of our program where you're at, okay? So what are some of the symptoms you have? And then let's talk about, give me a list of the symptoms you had before you joined the program 7 weeks ago.
7 weeks ago, the joint pain was immeasurable, from big joints like my knees and my elbows and my wrists to the little joints on my fingers and toes. I was cold all the time, the muscle weakness and the fatigue, just being tired and not being able to keep my eyes open in the evening, not being able to hold a pot and do the dishes, having to lean over, and it was just, the fatigue was a lot. So I would say my two biggest ones were joint pain and fatigue.
With these symptoms, how many years or decades can you look back? Have you been dealing with them for now?
10, without a doubt, 10 years of joint pain. I have been on medicines for rheumatoid arthritis for 10 years, different ones that have, like I said, sometimes they've worked and then they haven't worked. Sometimes they haven't worked at all. But for 10 years, I've been having joint pain tremendously. And the fatigue, I would say, started maybe about 4 or 5 years ago, that I really started noticing it, that it affected me as far as my work was concerned, as far as, raising my children and keeping my house together, is concerned.
Okay, 10 years of symptoms at least with with pain, and pain is debilitating, depressing, fatiguing, and defeating. And my question for you is that, well, it's not even a question. Ain't nobody got time for that. You're a busy mom. And my question for you then is, you're in the middle of our program. What are some results you've already had just in the last 7 weeks? I mean, you've been dealing with this crap for 10 years. So in 7 weeks, an insanely short period of time so far, what results?
In 7 weeks, I cannot believe the reduction in my joint pain. I can walk up and down the stairs without a problem. I can get in and out of the car without a problem. I actually sat in my backyard yesterday, and there are lounge chairs that I have not been able to sit on because the thought of getting up from them was horrific. And I was like, you know what? I think I can do it. And I did it, and I was so excited. It's my newfound. I'm loving my lawn chairs again. So the joint pain has really been less than it has been since I can remember, which I cannot believe. And the fatigue has really diminished a lot also. My husband said to me the other day, you know, I can't believe you're up at 10 o'clock at night, and I'm usually half asleep by 7:30. And after dinner, I'm up, I'm doing the dishes, I'm walking outside, and, you know, it's just amazing how much I have learned and how far I've come in a short period of time. So thank you.
Jennifer, I mean, I'm just so proud of you. I mean, I think the power of functional medicine and really doing all the different pieces of a program at once is how people get here fastest. It's not that only that these pieces are effective, but putting all the pieces together at once in an intensive, immersive program like this over a 2-month time frame is why this works so much. But like you mentioned, that the joint pain is, what level would you say it was before the program? 0 to 10?
I would say at least a 9.
Where is it today?
A 1.
Okay. All right. Fatigue. That's 0 to 10. What was it before the program?
I would say probably around an 8, because I definitely, in the winter time, I feel like it was a little bit worse. I think it got a little bit better with, you know, spring and summer. And now I'm really, if anything, I would say a 1 or a 2 also.
Okay. Husband says thank you.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And then we had talked about your mood. I know that you had told me about the mood. Tell me a little bit about your mood and your mindset and what's shifted just in the last couple weeks.
I feel like for a long time I had the mindset of, you know, what's next for me? You know, I'm gonna have this. I go to the doctor and they don't have answers for me, and they're telling me, go see this doctor, go see this specialist, go see here. It's just always negative. And I felt like my mood was reflected in that. And since this, I just feel so much more positive. I feel that there's hope. I feel that, you know, I keep saying, you know, my I am statement and trying to make things, what could be a negative, a positive, and just trying to find joy in everything that I'm doing and to be grateful for where I am. And I definitely see hope. And that's the most important thing, to have hope.
So Jennifer, a lot of people don't realize what we do is we're an educational program, and no doctor and no teacher is teaching patients and people themselves how to actually understand this holistic approach to autoimmune disease. It doesn't even matter what autoimmune disease you have. You could have ulcerative colitis. It needs a holistic approach all done at once, and you need to be the pilot and not the passenger. So I'm going to ask you some, so this is a section I call kind of soul to soul, which was, you know, if we could, like you've been dealing with joint pain for 10 years and multiple autoimmune disease diagnosis. If you could redo how the care for your autoimmune disease was over the last 10 years, if it could look different, if you did it differently, could you give me like 2 or 3 things that could have been totally different 10 years ago if you could redesign it? What could it look like now that you know better?
Yeah, the first thing I would have looked into was food mapping and nutrition. I think that has made a huge difference for me in my joints, things that I was eating and drinking that I had no idea were actually hurting me. And I had had allergy testing done. I actually asked for allergy testing just a few years ago because I said, there's got to be something that I'm eating. And everything that came up, I kind of knew about already. So I was like, okay, it's not the food. And I just wish, looking back, I had looked a little further into nutrition and food mapping. I think it plays a huge role.
I totally agree. And unfortunately, we're the only ones on the planet doing food mapping in our process for people with autoimmunity and even without autoimmunity. I think it's really, you got to do it very importantly. And those of you who are wondering what food mapping is, you can go to our Facebook page and you can go to in our Facebook group, there's a food mapping module that really talks about our unique process. And this is over my 24 years of experience as an MD. There is food mapping and blood testing that can very accurately predict what are the things that are triggering autoimmunity. And this is very different from standard allergy testing or even just standard food intolerance testing. So it's really a process. When you do so much and it doesn't work, you just become overwhelmed or you give up. Mm-hmm. And now you had specific actionable data that got you results. Within the last 7 weeks, you lost so much weight. Mm-hmm. And that wasn't even your intention, right? And you're not eating less. You're actually probably eating more.
Right. Yes.
Okay. What's something that you do effortlessly now that 7 weeks ago would have deemed impossible?
There are actually quite a few things. Reaching up to adjust the shower head on the shower. I had to have my husband come in and turn the handles on the shower to put the shower on and adjust the actual pressure and zone, like little things like that. Turning the steering wheel on the car, I had to do differently. Now I don't even think twice about it. So many little basic things like that, getting in and out of bed, making the bed, actually, just, everyday things that I wasn't able to do easily, I'm able to do now. And I'm so thankful and grateful.
What's one reservation you had before you joined the program? What was your biggest reservation?
That it wasn't going to work, that I wasn't going to feel any better. That, what makes this different than any other, group that I had been following, because I was following you for a very long time on Facebook.
You were a stalker and a lurker.
Yes.
What does make why?
I felt I did feel hopeless, and I prayed every day that please guide me in the direction and the path that I need to be on. And it was you. So I'm thankful. And I look forward to the future. I know this is not short term. I know it. I know that this is a lifestyle change, and there's a lot more for me to go. And I want to get better, with other little symptoms that aren't my big symptoms. So I know it's a long haul and a commitment, and I'm very lucky because I have the support of my husband, my parents, that makes the world of difference.
Thank you. That was incredible share. I loved it. And there were some wisdom bombs in there. People, you really gave the meat of how these changes really happened in a very short time. And you're not even at the end of our program. So I call our program Transform Autoimmune a launchpad program. It's 2 months, intensive, immersive experience, but it really launches you into a year of autoimmune turnaround. So I'm excited. What I would love to do is I'm going to pre-book this. I'd love to see a year later follow-up interview with you. To see where you're at. I like the fact that not only do we have interviews with people in the program, we have people right after the program, we have people a year after the program, because the answer to the question of can this be sustained and can it be even better needs to be answered, and we do. So Jennifer, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed that interview just as much as I did. Jennifer's really a great example of somebody who's not even done with our program, but in the middle of the program has really learned that getting very educated about what a functional approach is and understanding how important lifestyle, diet, and optimal values for data is in her ability to turn around severe 9 to 10 out of pain for her RA in just a matter of 7 weeks is incredible, to get that to be a 0 or a 1. And that's something that she hasn't been able to experience over the last 10 years. And, I think a lot of people think that, and a lot of our doctors will think that the answer to getting pain levels to even slightly decrease is only a medication. And she's an excellent example of why much more powerful than medications is actually lifestyle, diet, mindset changes, food mapping. So I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. And to learn more, you can join our Facebook group, Transform Autoimmune Disease Naturally, or go to drmaggie.com to learn more about our program and us and to get to know me better. Thanks.
Lupus, lung fibrosis,
Hashimoto's thyroiditis,
fibromyalgia, AS, which is a form of arthritis,
that's too far,
Extremely fatigued.
pretty much zero joint pain.
Much more happy.
I don't have brain fog anymore, how much weight I have lost.
I want to see remission.
Maggie and her approach is very different than the traditional doctor. I'm a totally different person.
I got a better understanding of what those intolerances were.
You're not alone.
The community is, I'm learning from everyone else's issues.
It's not just helped me, it's helped my entire family.
We are transformed.
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 Join the movement and transform your autoimmune naturally today.